Let me bang.
I do let you bang. Hey,
let me bang you, James, man.
I let you bang. I let you bang.
Greetings, marrieds and virgins.
Go for Jesus. No forget Jesus, people.
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time once again for your favorite mixed martial arts podcast. Recording out of Los Angeles, California, it's MMA Roasted with Adam Hunter.
Who the fuck is that guy?
All right, so I'm here with Sean McCorkle, and we're going to do a great podcast today. And now I can't see you. Before I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, hold on. Put my phone in my stand, I think. There you go. All right.
How you doing, Sean?
Hanging in there, man. How you doing?
Good, man. I got back from Skankfest. That was so basically, I was trying to tell you. So the Legion of Skanks is like a big podcast network. Louis J. Gomez and Big J, who, really funny comics and nice guys. And they have this podcast network called Gas Digital, Godfrey. And they have this festival where they have it's called Skankfest. And it basically, their whole network is, uncensored comedy. Basically, just they go off by the most offensive podcasts on the internet. Like, you would fit in great, right? So, yeah. Did I get there last week? I mean, there must have been, thousands of people that I like, and just the most, I wouldn't say punk rock, but like punk rock for podcasts. I even said it looked like an open call to play Jeffrey Dahmer. But
that's what you were talking about. I couldn't figure out where you were at, where whatever you were describing. I was like, man, this sounds like a terrible party wherever you're at. I was like, I didn't know what was going on. I forgot you were at Skankfest. You are describing Jeffrey Dahmer looking people, crazy people doing stuff like Steve-O pulling his D out. I was like, what is going on, man?
So nice. So I'm on. We do a couple shows, and I'm on 3 of the shows, which went really well. Nice crowds, and also the kind of crowds you can't offend them. Literally, I would watch comics go up there, and if a joke didn't work, one guy kept calling them, and this is a quote. He'd be like, fuck you, you retarded faggots. Like, he would just call the crowd, and then they would laugh. Like, literally, I saw more of that, more rape jokes, more molestation jokes, more incest jokes than I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was insane. But so me and Godfrey go to Steve-O's show. Oh, check out Steve-O. And I guess they didn't tell him he was doing the crowd work show. So he starts, I guess that's not his specialty, is not crowd work. He's just doing a couple jokes, and I guess not going that well, whatever. Next thing you know, he just jumps on his stool and goes, let's have a small dick competition. I'm going to go first. And pulls down his pants and his cock's out. Literally, in front of the whole crowd, his cock is out. And then he's like, who has a smaller dick than me? Dude, there was a line of dudes jumping up on stage to show their dicks. And in front of a crowd that's like 99% men.
Right. Yeah.
Dude, Brett Ernst walks in. He's like, I thought this was the crowd work show. He goes, normally it's like, where you're from? What do you do? Dude, it was like, what's the next guy going to do? Show his asshole? Like,
at least now we know where retarded faggot was, why it was being said so much. Probably from that little skit alone.
Dude, it was insane. Then they did a podcast where I guess a guy with special needs got a blowjob during the podcast. Like it was just one thing after another. People were getting tattoos of like Tony Hinchcliffe and Ari Shaffir, and there was a whole like free tattoo place. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. I mean, it was not crazy, but it was fun. It was fun, and I'm glad I did it. But I just didn't know where.
Does Tony Hinchcliffe still act like he's straight, or is he out of the closet yet? Do you know?
I think he's married, but it was. I think he's some great comics. I saw Dave Attell murder. I saw Jim Norton put on a killer show. Eddie Pepitone, like that, and alone itself was just like I was blown away. I'm like, man, I gotta go home and write. I was super inspired for me to get better. And then Booger Beard. So they had Ellis Mania outside. There was a boxing ring outside, and they have this thing where Jason Ellis hosted, where they have like musical chairs, and then the loser has to fight each other. 2 losers, whoever doesn't get in the seat over the seat. Yeah. So like this goes, and it's a boxing match. Well, this guy Booger Beard, who's a buddy of mine, so he's a guy from I think Missouri. Nice guy, but he started making these videos being like, Israel Adesanya, I am going to knock you out and then suck you off. So he started threatening MMA fighters, saying he was going to knock him out and then blow him. Right? That was his like.
He was stealing Buffer's whole gimmick, huh? So
like, and Israel Adesanya ends up loving this guy, flies him to his fights, and gives him the belt afterwards. He gives him the belt. Like after he wins the belt, he gives him the belt. Right? This is so he had his boxing match against this guy Mike Harrington. And I've seen Mike Harrington fight. By the way, Don Frye just showed up and left. I guess he didn't like the story. So, I see. So Booger Beard, he's boxing Mike Harrington, right? And I'm like, hey man, have you trained for this fight? Because the whole time he's talking all this shit. I'm gonna knock you out. I'm gonna fuck you up. I'm gonna kick your ass. Blah blah. And he doesn't look very athletic. So I'm like, have you trained for this? He's the night before. He's like, no. I'm like, have you done any sparring? He's like, never. Has anybody ever hold mitts for you? He's like, nope. He's like, I live in a town of 500 people. I couldn't find anybody. I'm like, well, dude, I'm not sure you know what you're. He's like, I'm going to win. He goes, my strategy is to get this guy to punch me as many times as possible, tire himself out, and then I'm going to back and win. Like that was.
Yeah. So the Rocky Balboa in every movie strategy. I like how Rocky's strategy in every movie was to stick his chin out and be like, come on, hit me. You'll get tired eventually. Like as if he couldn't just dodge the punch and they would get just as tired. He had to actually make contact to wear themselves out. So.
I mean, aside from Ali Foreman, has that strategy ever worked for anybody?
Yeah, I don't think so. And even Ali wasn't getting hit all that much. He was moving a lot, blocking a lot and trying to, do that. But that's, man, the more I watch Rocky, I swear I always send you some of the subtleties I notice about Rocky. But I was watching one. I was watching the other day. They have the new version of Rocky 4. He did like a redo 25th anniversary or 35th anniversary or whatever of Rocky. And his speech at Apollo's funeral and Duke, I guess his name is, the other bald black guy.
Yeah.
His speech at Apollo's funeral in the new edition is the greatest thing ever. He's like, Apollo went out the way he wanted to went out, and we wanted to go out, and we have to respect that. He went out like a warrior, and it was his choice. Like he was blaming Apollo for getting killed by Drago. And we, as his friends and family, need to support him in that choice. I'm like, I don't know that we did. Like, I don't know that they had to let him die.
Not at all.
Or whatever. But it was, man, I'm not kidding you. Some of those scenes they put back in are amazing. Like, so funny, man. And at one point, Rocky says, I loved you, man. Like out of nowhere, like he just said it to Apollo, at his funeral, and it was like, it sounded like a Bud Light commercial or something. I don't know. It was just, I don't know. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, you definitely got to check it out, man. That's, it's funny.
By the way, I got to say, to the Legion of Skank fans, I will say they are probably the best fan base in comedy. They love comedy. Yeah. They respect comedy. And I had so much fun performing with them and meeting them. They were the nicest people. There was no fights, no tough guys. Just cool fucking comedy people, which was awesome.
Who was the guy, Jason Ellison? He used to be a fighter.
He was a professional skateboarder who then became a fighter. He had a couple fights, and he like trains. But back to the Booger Beard fight. You want to know how the whole thing went down?
Of course.
So after I have my show at the same time. So I come out and I'm like, how did Booger Beard do? They're like, he got killed. He got absolutely destroyed. So his strategy of letting the guy punch him in the face did not work. He got fucked up. It got stopped. They didn't let him come out for the third round. But I don't know what he was thinking. Like, I don't understand. I go, did you ever spar? He's like, me and my friends used to box. I'm like, that's not boxing. Like, what?
Right. Man, people have a tendency. It's amazing. Everybody thinks, I've seen people before, especially these self-defense guys, are like, no, if he does this, then I'll just do this. And then if the second guy came in, I'll just kick him and he'll fall. And they think they're going to choreograph it, but it's like, it's a whole different world when you get punched in the face. Like, man, this isn't going. I'll never forget when I was fighting, what's his name? Soa Palele, which he was at 295 pounds ripped. And I mean, just on every steroid, even on more steroids than I was at the time. Like, he came out, picked me up and slammed me. I thought he was going to stand with me because his stand-up's way better than mine. Picked me up like nothing. I was 305 pounds, slammed me, got on top of me and just started punching me in the face a whole bunch. And I felt completely helpless. Like, I remember thinking, like, this must be how everyone I fought early in my career felt. Like, it must be like, it's like, there's nothing you can do. This guy just picked me up, slammed me and punched me in the face. And I can't get out. I can't get out from underneath him. But it's there was an article going around for a while. It was it's obviously it was supposed to be, a joke or whatever, but it was like the average man found to be 1,085% less effective in a fight than they thought, or something like that. But that really is true, man. A lot of guys just don't get it, man. If you've never had your ass kicked before, it ain't like the movies, like they don't get it.
The thing was, is like, I'm like, Booger Beard's like, I'm like, well, what? He goes, dude, I have a whole new respect for fighters. I'm never going to criticize a fighter again. I'm like, well, but those guys trained.
Right, yeah.
You literally never sparred before in your life and thought it was a good idea to jump into a ring with somebody and just started throwing punches. The only one crazy enough to do that is Don Frye. Don Frye is the only guy who fights the greatest K1 champion ever without ever throwing a kick before. Look
and
at
still
Fry.
wins.
That worked out well for me, didn't it?
Yeah, but still, like, I mean, by the way, looking at Don's ear. I'm looking at Don's cauliflower ear.
Only way I can hear you because again, iPods aren't working, so I got to put this thing into my ear to.
So I was saying over the weekend, I did this thing called Skank Fest. You would have loved it. Really cool comedy where I watched Steve whip out his dick on stage, and then the crowd had a small dick competition, which I couldn't believe how many people signed up for this. Just not even
getting in.
Yes, I was. And then after that, I watched this guy Booger Beard get into a boxing match. Who he never threw a punch before. Well, he never trained, never sparred. I thought it was a good idea to do a boxing match, which was,
of course,
yeah.
All right.
That's like somebody with no sense of humor, never told a joke before,
Right. I mean, except worse,
Right.
you're not getting punched on stage. It's actually worse.
I knew Don would bring up Brendan Schaub the minute he got a chance. So knew it.
So Sean, meanwhile, there's a celebrity that got mad at me. Let's just say he does really good impressions and used to be on Saturday Night Live. All right, I'll just say. So all right, used to be he did really good. He used to do really good impressions of like Bill Clinton and other people. All right,
right.
So, anyway, so he used to live in my building in New York, and I would talk to him, and he wear a trench coat no matter what weather is. No matter what the weather was, he'd be outside with a trench coat. And I'll try talking to him. He would never look at you when you talk to him. He was always looking somewhere else, right? Now, somebody told me he had 10,000 cans of Mountain Dew in his apartment. No furniture, just 10,000 cans of Mountain Dew, right?
Right.
So I ran into him at a show. Like, this is 20 years later, like last week. And I go, hey, let's say his name is Merrill Mammond, right? So I was like, Merrill, can I ask you a question? He's like, what's up? I go, is it true that you had 10,000 cans of Mountain Dew in your apartment but no furniture? And he gets like, looks at me like angry going, that is a gross exaggeration, and then he just walks away. He like didn't deny it. And he just got mad, right? So then I was like, yeah, this girl, Rebecca told me, this girl I used to date that ended up being an escort for Elliot Spitzer, who was the governor.
Right.
Like wrote a book about it. I'm like, yeah, that girl Rebecca who said she was friends with you, the one that was the escort. He's like, I don't know who that is. And so the guy, he like got mad, and, like walked away, and then yelled at somebody. I guess he talks about like, this is like a documentary on him and his drugs.
Maybe he was just doing an impression of somebody that was mad. I don't know. He wasn't actually upset.
I mean, I didn't think that was that far off of a question, right? Wouldn't you want to know if somebody had 10,000 cans of Mountain Dew as furniture?
I actually, I knew somebody that had a couple thousand cans of Monster energy drink in their house that were half full. And then come to find out they were half full with pee, like with urine. And I couldn't figure out what that was, but I figured it had to be drug related.
Yeah.
So I asked someone what would a drug addict have half, like 1,000 or 2,000 cans of Monster energy drink with urine in them for? And they said, when you smoke a bunch of meth, it stays in your pee. And if you continue, like if you pee, save your pee and then run it through some kind of sifter, you can sift out the meth and re-smoke it or retake it or whatever, like over a matter of time if you drink it. And I found out that's what it was, which to me seemed like maybe you should just like invest in like a gallon jug or something, like, or a 5-gallon jug. I don't know why Monster energy drink cans were the best option to store urine in. Like, it doesn't seem like a not that it's sanitary to begin with, but yeah. So you don't know why he obviously did, or he wouldn't have been so upset. So did you know, is there a reason why, or you?
No, I didn't know why. And I think that he got, I know he talked about smoking crack and, being like in the crack house and like part of his act and this and that. And he's actually a really nice guy, but he got really
upset over a Mountain Dew bottle.
Yeah. But he was definitely doing it country cool or whatever.
So I was gonna be like, "Hey man, relax. You want a Mountain Dew?" Or I was gonna like just try to diffuse the situation, but he got mad. Then he yelled at the booker for not going up on time. He wanted to get out of there earlier. It was like a whole scene, and I was like, "Oh, something I said." So yeah.
I saw a guy doing stand-up comedy. I don't want to say what his name was, but you told me he was on a lot of either meth or coke or something that would speed you up, whatever it was. And I went and saw him do his stand-up comedy in Indianapolis, and you were correct. He was on something because he was talking like an auctioneer on cocaine, man. Like he was going really, really fast, but it was entertaining. It was really, you were dead on though. You said, yeah, his show, I don't know how good his comedy will be. He's really bad on whatever it was at the time. I think you called it crank, which I wasn't really sure what that was at the time, but it sounded like something that sped you up. And he couldn't sit still for 2 seconds. Like he was like being around Bruce Buffer at a gay porn movie theater or something. You know what I mean? Like he couldn't sit still for 2 seconds. He was moving around on stage, but funny nevertheless.
No, back in the day, Tommy Davidson used to have a really bad coke problem, and the people told me at the Miami Improv, he got off stage for like 11 minutes and thought he was done with his act.
He did his hour and 11 minutes.
And they were like, they haven't even dropped the first they haven't even took like round one of like drinks, and he had to go back. He like got off. He did his whole act in 11 minutes. Had to go back up, which was, I guess, yeah. And then there was a guy who was in a really funny comic who was in Scarface, right? And they told him like, don't let him leave the green room because he's fine on the first show, but don't let him leave because then he'll leave, do some drugs, come back, and the second show he may or may not show up, right? And this dude. This guy was a big star in the 80s. He used to have a radio in his picture. Mm-hmm. So anyway, what happened was they're like, hey, it's time for you to go out. And he goes out to the thing and he's all coked out of his mind, like just as his nose is bleeding, right? So he sees a girl in the front row and with huge tits and starts wiping his nose with her tits, like during the show to get the blood off him. Right. And the girl's boyfriend attacked him. A huge fight broke out and that was the end of the show.
Right.
Yeah. So
that's a good closer. I wonder how many shows he closed with that. That'd be a good way to finish off. I'm trying to figure out who had a radio.
His nickname, he used to go, check it out. I'll just say his name rhymed with Mangel Malazar. If you anyway.
I'm still lost. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't living through the 80s, or I wasn't born in the 70s. He's funny though.
I actually, his name was Angel. I think he's like sober now, but he was one of the first headline gigs I ever did was opening up for him, and he was a cokehead. Angel Salazar. He was a cokehead on on Scarface. He used to do a ton of coke. Like that was his thing. Yeah. So the crowd would bring him bags of coke like during his set, right?
Wait a minute, Angel Salazar. What character was he in Scarface? I remember now. Like I think you told me about this a long time ago. I remember looking him up and like, oh, that dude.
He was also in Carlito's Way. So the crowd would bring him cocaine. I saw them bring him cocaine. Like during the show, and just
those are some dedicated fans, man.
Dude, Colombians, right? Maybe he's Cuban. Anyway, so then he would Cuban. So then on the way home, I'm driving him. I made like 9 stops. Say, hey, man, pull over here, pull over there, and then he would just leave, go into a house, and I'd be there for like 30 minutes in my car waiting for him to come out, not knowing where I was. Like
that's a lot more than you bargained for the opening night.
What was that, Don?
I saw that on Training Day.
Yeah, it was exactly like Training Day. So speaking of Training Day, Sean Strickland said he's sick of watching commercials where people are like, hey, you got it, what it takes to be a Navy SEAL. How long would you last as a Navy SEAL? So he has challenged any Navy SEAL to come train with him for a week. That's his challenge.
Oh, that's luck.
And he said that nobody no Navy SEAL, he said, could keep up with him in MMA training. To which an MMA fighter who was a Navy SEAL took the offer, who's on their way to train with him.
He might be able to beat up a Navy SEAL in a fight, but he's not in better shape than them dudes, man. Them dudes are in phenomenal physical shape, man. Like unbelievable physical shape.
Like better than like an MMA fighter?
I would have to imagine, man, because those
guys are just cardio machines. You know, they keep going all day long. Fuck. I mean, just Hell Week alone. You know, you got to stay awake for what, 4 days straight? You know, 5 days straight. I'm not sure. I mean, that would tax your body.
Damn. Well, I mean, so the guy's really excited to go out there. He's like, he made the issue, and then Bryce Mitchell.
How about Jocko Willink? We get call up Jocko Willink. Have him go out there. That'll fucking stop this.
So I saw that Sean Strickland. He was doing Schaub show, his little food truck thing, and they did it in front of a green screen because they couldn't afford a food truck. Like I don't know why you can't just go to a food truck, but everybody was saying that the Schaub is so broke now he's using green screens for food trucks so he doesn't have to buy people food. But I saw him on there. He was saying some crazy stuff on there, like talking about how everybody's a pussy now in this generation. Like, I don't know.
So okay.
Well, then he should get back in shape, get back into the cage. You know, right?
Yeah, and another challenge that got issued was Bryce Mitchell has called out Joe Rogan to a debate because he says the Earth is flat. Do you want to hear this?
He doesn't really say that, does he?
Listen.
Me and my mama will tell you right now this Earth is flat. It ain't moving around at no 600 something thousand miles an hour, spinning 1,000 miles an hour, and floating through the universe constantly. Okay, this Earth is flat, it's fixed, and the stars and stuff rotate around us. The sun rotates around us. Okay, and I can prove that. I would love to debate you, Joe Rogan, because I'm tired of you making fun of flat earthers. They're trying to feed you these lies to make you.
Is this the guy from Arkansas?
Yes.
And that God didn't create this universe, the Big Bang did. Okay, I used to be an atheist because I used to believe that this universe was created by the Big Bang. I used to believe all that crap from Neil deGrasse Tyson. Okay, and I'm just so sick and tired of hearing your crap, Joe, about flat earthers being stupid. Gravity ain't real. It's density. This paper, when it drops, it's more dense than the air around it, not because of some magical thing called gravity. There is no proof of gravity, brother. There's only proof of density. That's why hot air balloons float, because of hot air being less dense, okay? Not because a hot air balloon is an anti-gravitational device. And I will debate you right to your face, and I'm tired of this crap that you're posting. I'm tired of you making fun of flat earthers because you got one right here that will bring it to you. And I know you won't accept this challenge. Actually, no, I don't know, but I bet you won't. I bet you'll sissy out. And that crap you're posting, it's leading people away from the Holy Spirit. This universe wasn't created from the Big Bang.
How about that?
That's what Neil deGrasse Tyson says. And we didn't land on the moon. And Neil deGrasse Tyson knows we didn't land on the moon. He's lying about it too. Okay? All these people are lying, brother. And all you're doing is leading people away from the Spirit. When you understand that God created this universe, then you'll understand that there's no need for all this Big Bang and this and that, and it's all a bunch of crap. That's why the stars, the Little Dipper and the Big Dipper, are in the same position they've always been in, because the universe ain't constantly expanding.
All right, so that's the Bryce. I hope he becomes champion, and then I hope he says all this stuff in the octagon, like after he wins. Like, I hope he has a list of things that he wants to tell everybody. Like,
dude, that's the first time I've ever heard him say anything I disagreed with. This is what's funny to me. Just because, like, I believe in God too, that doesn't mean there wasn't a Big Bang. That
right.
God could have created the explosion that did that. The Earth being flat, I don't understand what anyone would have to gain by lying about it. Like, I don't understand what the thing is. I don't necessarily believe that we landed on the moon in the 60s and then we can't do it today. That seems odd to me that 50 or 60 years later, we can't do it. I think we were in no other country has ever landed on the moon, or not a person. They've never claimed to. They don't claim to even be close to it. I could see the United States rigging something like that, because the Van Allen radiation belt, a lot of people say we couldn't survive going through it. I guess time will tell, because they're supposedly going back. So we'll see if it does it or not. But it's I
mean, there's how many pictures are there from space? There's so many pictures of the Earth being round. Like, what?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's what the whole Earth being like why the Earth flat thing. Here's the problem: if you watch enough of those Earth is flat videos, they'll start to convince you. till you realize, like, you watch one that debunks it, and they'll be like, hey, you remember how they said at this angle you wouldn't be able to see a skyscraper from 50 miles away because the curvature of the earth, and then they show you the actual math and you would be able to see it. You know what I mean? Like, they're just, those guys are putting those videos together and they're like, well, this degree, and they just throw up a mathematical formula that isn't correct. But if the earth is, do you realize how many people would have to be in on it if the earth was flat? Like, how many people would have to be, you know what I mean? Like scientists, everybody.
Why? To sell globes? I mean, what do they have to gain from?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, there is no reason to lie, because they're like, well, because Antarctica surrounds the Earth, and so every airline pilot is lying about it. You know what I mean about flying, because they're like, well, if the Earth's flat, then how do you fly? Like, it wouldn't explain flight times would be different. You know, like, it just doesn't. Who has what to gain by it? That's what's crazy. And how is it stayed a secret?
But although I gotta say, Bryce was very polite. He didn't seem like he was angry, and I liked the way he went about it. I mean,
yeah, he might just be trying to get on Rogan's podcast too. That might be a possibility too. So
I want to hear the debate. I really do.
What's up, people? Football is back, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all your football betting needs this season. You always find the latest football odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. And as your continued source for all sports wagering information, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and live scores and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet on your favorite sports and events. Bet Major League Baseball, MMA, tennis, boxing, even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code CLNS50 to receive your rewards. BetOnline, where the game starts. Don, what are your thoughts about that?
I do too. I'll pay for that. You know, that'd be a much better pay-per-view.
Don, what are your thoughts about Bryce Mitchell?
Pardon?
What are your thoughts about Bryce?
The guy we just heard?
Yeah.
I think he's entertaining.
Yeah, he is entertaining. I mean, he does definitely he's definitely into conspiracies. I'll give him that. He's a hell of a fighter. I mean, the kid is a hell of a fighter. And he seems like a nice guy. People are like, I'm unfollowing him. Look, if he wants to believe that, you know.
Yeah, why do you unfollow somebody? Because they come up with something that's different than what you're thinking.
Yeah,
or, you know, something completely
and he's not hurting. Look, he's not hurting anybody by this theory. This theory is I think a little ridiculous, but this is not like
be the reason to follow somebody is to listen to their crazy ass schemes, you know?
Right. And look, this theory is not the Holocaust never happened. You know, it's not one of those things that's like causing.
No, that one's been proven.
Or this is not Sandy Hook was the hoax. I mean, this is like where people are in pain. If he wants to believe that the Earth is flat, then you know he could.
What I can't figure out about that whole thing with Alex Jones and the Sandy Hook thing, if he actually believed it when he said it, I don't understand how he can be liable for if he genuinely believed that that's what happened, and he didn't, to my knowledge, unless I've missed it, he didn't say go harass these people, go do anything to them. You got a bunch of nutcases out there who did that kind of stuff. But this is what's funny to me about the Alex Jones thing. The government doesn't have to fake school shootings. The government, if they wanted to crack down on guns, would gladly send someone in somewhere to shoot people. Like, they don't need to save those children. That's like people on 9/11. They're like, they took the people out of the planes and then crashed drones into the, buildings or whatever. Like, the government isn't worried about those people. If they want to crash them into buildings, they'll crash them with those people in them themselves.
No, Sean, you make a very good point. You make a very good point because, like, for example, Rachel Maddow, there's a video of her saying, if you're vaccinated, you cannot get COVID. Like, literally saying that.
Yeah, she's a genius. She's a fucking genius.
Which her saying that, and if people went out and got COVID, could really hurt people. I mean, also, people can think, oh, I'm vaccinated, I'm going to go out and then you can get COVID, and who knows? So you're right. I mean, that's an interesting point. I didn't think of it that way. If he really believed it, I think it's like, who knows? I mean, it's such a fine line because I'm not for any kind of censorship, even with Kanye. I don't agree with anything Kanye says, but I would like to know how he feels. Because now I know what I'm dealing with.
Right.
The worst thing you could do is to not let people talk, because they're going to talk. but they're going to talk on other form of media, on other mediums, and then they're all going to fucking rise up, and you're going to go, where the fuck did these people come from? You know, well, at least now I know exactly where they are. I know exactly how you feel, and you know.
Did you see Kanye? My fiance sent me a video. I can't call her my girlfriend anymore. I have to call her my fiance. She would rather be called that. She sent me a video where Kanye West, someone asked him something, and he turned the question around on them, and it didn't make any sense what he said, and then it was like on 60 Minutes or whatever, and he goes, "That didn't make sense. That just sounded cool to say back." Like he just like. That's the funniest man. I lost it when I watched it. That was so funny.
At this point, though, he's like he's basically a homeless guy outside screaming shit. You know, I mean, he's just worth $1 billion. It's like I don't understand why we're giving it any merit. Like my dad is convinced the whole world hates the Jews. You know, he's so afraid of. And look, my grandfather lived through World War II. It's a different time. You know,
he's only 75% right, so you can't. You know what's funny to me is people hate Jews. Like people really do. A lot of people hate Jews because they're like, yeah, you put a Jew could be a janitor and they'll be running the whole company in 5 years. I'm like, well, what's wrong with that? Like, I admire that. Like, I admire that Jews are able to succeed at whatever they do. Like, that's it's something to be, emulated, I think.
They almost got wiped out by Hitler, and then they came back. It only took them like 20 years to make a comeback, Geez.
Yeah. No, it's a crazy world. It's
hard
crazy
work.
So Dana White has bought the rights to slap fighting. It's called the Power Slap Championship.
Did he really?
Yeah, and he's bringing it to Las Vegas.
No way. He really did?
Yes.
That seems like the exact kind of thing he would hate. Like, absolutely hate.
I don't get it either because it's just not something that the Power Slap League. It got approval from the Nevada Commission.
Yeah, what in the world?
I mean, I don't see the thing is, look, with MMA, that's a fight. There's a skill. I know that slapping people shows that you have power and that you could take a slap, but no one's ever just gonna let you slap them in a fight. Like, why not? And no one's gonna put their shit out. Like, maybe some people will, but I don't see. I've never got excited to watch slap fighting. You?
Only in person when I saw two dudes in a rap battle one time, and I was with a bunch of other professional fighters that were like local pros, but they were good fighters. And they started having a rap battle, and this guy made fun of this kid named Tristan Yunker, who was a really good fighter. He beat Clay Guida back before Guida was in the UFC, beat John Halverson, beat some really good guys. And they start rap battling. He said something about him having a lisp, and the second he said lisp, Tristan, the fighter, open hand smacks the shit out of the guy, the rap battler guy. And then his buddy goes, "I bet you won't smack me." And he didn't even get me out before he smacked him in the face too with the other hand. And the guy said, "Oh yeah, you're gonna." One of his other friends, he smacked him too. Was just dealing out slaps to anyone. And they were like, "Oh yeah, you just because you're buddy." I was like, "Dude, I'm not gonna do anything." And I said, "But he will beat you up." And he just starts smacking people left and right. So they talk him into going down the street. "Yeah, come down here. I bet you won't fight me." And I told the guy, I said, "Dude, please do not go down there. He's going to beat you up. Like, please don't." Like, because the guys didn't know. This is like probably 2000, I don't know, 9, where people didn't realize how tough fighters were yet, or whatever. So they walked down to an alley, like, "Yeah, we'll see when you come down here." And he came down there, and he was like, he did have a lisp too. Sounded like Napoleon Dynamite or Kip Dynamite. He's like, "Listen, guys, first what's going to happen is I'm going to smack you, I'm going to punch you, and I'm going to slam you on your head. Who wants it first?" And then the guys were like, "Yeah, try it." So he did it exactly in that order. Smacked the one guy, punched the other dude, knocked him out, picked the other dude up and slammed him, and it was over in like 10 seconds. And I was like, well, that was pretty much how I thought it would go. He was only like 180-pound fighter, man. It was crazy. But yeah, that was so funny because the guy's like, "I bet you won't slap me." And he didn't even finish the E before he was also smacked and like reeling, backing up.
Now, none of these guys hit him back?
No, they were so shocked. There's nothing more entertaining to me than a guy, because everybody's such a bluffer and so full of shit, because I've smacked a few people in my day too. There's nothing funnier than the look on a guy's face, a grown man, when another man smacks him when he didn't think he would have the balls to do it, because you can tell they've never been hit before, and they're kind of like, "Wow, that actually hurts." Like I smacked a guy on New Year's Eve. I got mouthy with my fiance, for leaving a door open too long as she was coming into a restaurant. And I was parking the car because it was cold out. So I came in. I ended up smacking him, open hand smacking him in his face and bloodying his nose. And the look on his face was completely like just priceless when he backed up and realized, like, he's probably 50 years old, but realized like someone really did just bitch smack him right in the face for saying something. He's like, "Oh, what you gonna do?" And as soon as he said "do," I just smacked him. Like, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna smack the shit out of you. And it's always funny to see that response. I'm sure Don has smacked a few guys even recently.
Oh my God.
Do you normally, Don? Do you normally smack him, or do you go straight? Do you go straight closed fist, Don, or do you give him the smack first?
No, I like to slap first.
Yeah.
Just it's humiliating. It's an insulting.
Yeah.
You're not worthy of being punched, and so you get bitch slapped, and it's for one thing, it puts on Queer Street, real bad, but it also, like I said, it's humiliating. And you got to walk around with a big handprint on your face.
Yeah. That hot, stinging feeling on your face with a handprint. It's priceless.
A lot of people are angry about this. Like, slap fighting will now be regulated by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Dana White's Power Slap League is targeting its first event in November or December at the UFC Apex. Broadcast details not revealed, but they're targeting a major network.
That doesn't even seem like that could be true. That's crazy, man. That's like saying the earth isn't flat. It's just mind blowing.
It's crazy. And a lot of people are not happy about this because they say this only leads to like brain trauma and it's not like a safe sport. And
I don't know how they're keeping from popping their eardrums, man. Like, I don't know. Are they putting the earplugs in or something? Because
you shit. Jeez. Hey, Mr. Waiter, Sean.
Don cut out.
Madam.
So Alir Latifi, by the way, is suspended because after he won his fight, he said, "Even this week, my leg is swollen. I didn't even go tell my coaches, but I got a staph infection 2 days ago. As you can see, my leg's all swollen." Because he admitted that after the fight, he's now suspended. He's now suspended for fighting for not telling, I guess, everyone your injuries, or for fighting with a staph infection. You can fight with a staph infection, right?
He probably was required to disclose it, maybe, or something. Maybe if he lied on the paperwork, maybe that said he didn't have any infection or any reason he couldn't fight or any injury or whatever.
Come on, give me a break. They shouldn't. I mean, it's one thing to suspend the guy for taking PEDs and not, but like the guy literally didn't want to cancel a fight and went there and won and fought great with a staph infection. At least, I mean, what are you going to take away his money now? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I don't know. He's not medically suspended? He's actually suspended?
No, it says the NAC, which is temporarily suspends UFC after in-cage interview. Nevada Athletic Commission.
Why? That's their fault. They didn't catch him. That's their fault, not his. You know that? They should have caught him before the fight, and then they should have stopped the fight.
They said it's risky and that the behavior cannot be tolerated.
Well, that's their fucking fault. They should have found it. It's not up to the fighter to disclose everything. It's up to the fucking organization to be able to find it.
They said it was risky and could lead to injury, unlike fighting in a cage. It's not like how safe as cage fighting is.
So by the way, so TJ Dillashaw is looking.
How easy the fight is, yeah.
So TJ Dillashaw is looking more ripped than anyone I've ever. Like, he looks insane right now. Do you see a picture of him? And hold on, let me see if I can find this.
Is that on his fans only page?
Yes. So this is TJ right now. Sean, can you see?
Yeah, I can now. I had to put my phone. He's pretty lean. Is this 125 or 135?
135. I mean, he looks like Brad Pitt in Fight Club almost, even better.
Yeah. Except straight.
he looks completely shredded, which sucks because now all you think of is him, failing the drug test when you see a guy like that. But Dana White said that he said that actually he's proud of the way he handled his PED use, being busted. He handled it like a man. That's what he said. But I mean, he got caught. So I don't know. I don't think anyone should. It's hard to really be like, oh, good job for handling your suspension when you.
Well, I mean, some of the guys claim that they got it from eating kangaroo meat or something like that too. Like there's people that, I guess, if you just admit you did it. What sucked was when Chad Mendez tested positive for something like Ostarine or something that gives you no advantage. You know what I mean, or whatever. It's just some strange thing that was probably in something he ate that gave him no advantage at all. But because because of how strict they are, that you're not only allowed to have a certain level. But it's he was taking, I think what TJ only got caught for EPO, right? Wasn't that the only thing he got for was EPO? Yeah, that's the biggest advantage you can have is EPO, I guess. So
did you watch the fights last week, Sean?
I did not. Nope, did not catch.
It wasn't the greatest card, I gotta be honest. Although Mike Jackson got murdered. Mike Jackson, it was a one-sided beatdown. He got kneed in the face, like, man, he was out. Like, he looked like it was a rough time. I think that's the end of Mike Jackson.
Who told you that the UFC couldn't cut you off a win? Do you remember who was that said that?
I think it was, I think it was Joe Silva told me that.
Because I know they cut. You remember they cut the guy. He was doing stand-up comedy for a while, and it wasn't Shab. Of course, he wasn't doing stand-up comedy.
Gerald Harris.
Yeah, Gerald. They cut him after his fight because I was actually at that fight. It was really boring. I think it was UFC 123 in Detroit, I believe, and they cut him. His fight was so boring. They cut him, and he was 3-1 in the UFC or 4-1. But the fight was so boring.
He never got cut. No, he never got cut after a win.
That wasn't right after the win. They didn't cut him after that fight.
He got fucked because I think he lost to a guy who got popped, and still got cut. And then he took a short notice fight and got cut. Like he had like the worst luck of any fighter. And then in Bellator, he only fought like the greatest guys ever, like the greatest. Right. Like, you know.
He actually, when I first got in the UFC, he trolled me because I used to, when I first, I was known on, they used to always say I was racist on the underground because I would say kind of racist things to troll people. And they had me do an interview like somebody did, I don't know, MMA Junkie or somebody a few weeks before I did my UFC debut. And Gerald Harris called in saying I was racist, but he didn't say it was him. He said he was just a random MMA fan. He kept saying, all the stuff you say about Kimbo's racist. And me and him were going back and forth. And he wanted me to apologize. I'm like, I'm not apologizing for anything. Get real. Like I was saying this on that. And then eventually they started laughing. They said, oh, Sean, it's Gerald Harris. He's just giving you a hard time. But I didn't know who he was. Like I never even heard of him. So I was like, oh, cool. But I didn't know he's a fighter or what. Like I didn't know they were like, yeah, he's just trolling you. And I was like, oh, and I had to look up who he was.
He's so funny. I remember the first time I met him, he's like talking about how he was married or he just got divorced. And I was like, was it hard being faithful? He's like, no, because I wasn't.
Right. Yeah. He pulled the Ric Flair. What was it Ric Flair said? I was faithful for the first 3 days. Or something like that. Like,
oh, man. Yeah. So Alexa Grasso won. She looked pretty good. Cub Swanson lost. Jordan Wright, the Beverly Hills Ninja, he gassed out in the second round quick. I mean, he just gassed. Asunciao beat Victor Henry. Alonzo Menefield beat the shit out of Misha Serkinov, the kid from football player. That was amazing. And then, like I said, this guy, Pete Rodriguez, just kneed Mike Jackson into oblivion to the point where it was like almost a scary knockout. This week, obviously, everyone's going to watch. One on Amazon Prime. It's John Lineker, who's Hands of Stone, taking on Fabricio Andrade. That's going to be a good fight. But UFC 280, which starts at like 10 o'clock in the morning because it's in Abu Dhabi. So
they finally overtook us now. Their time frame matters more than the United States, Mark. Right? That's crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah, which is crazy because like I was watching like my 90th different Tyson. Tyson has like every documentary about Mike Tyson I watch. It doesn't matter. Like even if I watched it 37 times, I'm so fascinated by Mike Tyson. But when he lost to Buster Douglas, he was out the whole night with Bobby Brown, fucking Japanese girls the night before. Bobby Brown was like, yo, Mike, you got to fight tomorrow. He's like, I'm good. And then the fight was at 10 o'clock in the morning because they wanted to do it for – so have you ever had a fight like that? You had to do it early because of U.S. time?
I know I fought one time because I was on the prelims in the UFC. I know I had to fight like it. I think I was in Seattle and I had to fight. And 1 or 1:30 in the afternoon, and man, that was weird. Like it was a weird to like fight. You know that when you're used to fighting at night like that, it was really weird to fight during the. I think it was 1 or 2, in the afternoon that I fought, and I just remember they made us leave the arena. I still haven't figured out what the deal is there with them making people leave the arena, but I remember at that time they also made me leave, and I walked back to the hotel, just same thing with no shirt on, no anything, because they made us leave. And I remember it being daytime and looking crazy walking down the street because people were like, "Man, I'd hate to see the other guy." I was like, "No, he was all right. He not a mark on him. Like I just had 2 black eyes, a bloody nose, bloody mouth, all beat up, and he ended up. I don't think he had a mark on him. He just beat the shit out of me." So,
what about you, Don?
No, I don't think so.
So Oliveira versus Islam, which is the pay-per-view starts 2:00 Eastern time, so 11:00 in Cali time. I'm thinking Islam's going to win this fight because I think Oliveira makes too many mistakes, and Islam makes none, except for that one time he got caught. So that's Don. You?
Which Islam is it?
Islam Makachev?
Makachev or something, I think, isn't it?
Makachev.
He's the guy that fights just like Khabib.
He's Khabib's partner. He's 21-1. He's only had 1 loss by knockout. Oliveira's 33-8, but is on a killer streak.
Good. I like Oliveira. But I'll have to go with the young kid, unfortunately. You know, that guy's got a lot of power, and he's got a good sense to him, and got good coaching and strategy.
Sean?
Yeah, man, I'm probably I don't know. I've always man, I don't know. It's hard to bet against those Dagestani guys, man. But gosh, I don't know. Oliveira, though, man, I've bet against him his last 3 or 4 fights, and he's beat me every time. So this time I'll probably bet on him, and then he'll lose. So yeah, I'm gonna go Oliveira, and I guarantee I'm wrong.
So Aljamain is in the Middle East, and he took a picture with Andrew Tate. They were hanging out. You know, the guy from the internet.
Right. The guy not from the internet anymore.
And then people got mad at Aljamain because of some of the things that he kind of issued a statement like, I don't agree with a lot of things, which I think is like, fuck it. Like, come on, give me a break. I mean,
why do you have to? I don't understand why you have to. You co-sign if you take a picture of someone, you have to co-sign everything they ever said or did. Like I don't get that. Like I don't understand. Like it's like why does that mean that you agree with them because you took a picture with them? That's the I don't know.
I mean, look at Tyson.
I haven't heard Andrew Tate say much I don't agree with. Like I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but I like most stuff he says. It's not very nice, but a lot of it's true. So
I agree. I mean, like Tyson's done a lot of things in his life that he's not proud of. I would love to take a picture with Tyson. So would everybody else. It's like,
yeah,
it's ridiculous. Dillashaw Aljo, that's going to be the fight. O'Malley Yan, the whole card's great. We went over this card a bunch of times. I don't want to keep beating a dead horse as they say it, but yeah, I mean, it's a great card. The whole card's going to be great. There's really not a bad fight on this card.
Speaking of Tyson, that reminded me. Someone on the internet the other day told me that I was racist because I said that Kobe Bryant, I believe, was a rapist, and I think Mike Tyson was innocent. And I said, because if you look at the way Kobe Bryant apologized to that girl on national TV and gave her $10 million to stop cooperating with the police, which is typically not what you do when someone accuse you of fake rape. And then Mike Tyson not only would not pay her off, he says to this day, she's a lying bitch. He's not apologizing. It's all a lie. So the guy said I was racist because I picked 2 black guys. And I was like, okay, so would you rather be, he said, what about Jeffrey Epstein? I was like, what does that have to do with anything? So to him, I said, okay, Jeffrey Epstein was guilty and so is Kobe. That's less racist than Kobe's guilty and Mike Tyson's not. Like, and then he brought up, he said, what about Big Ben? I was like, I don't even know what that means. Like what?
Big Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, that's what I guess. Yeah, he said Big Ben. I said, I don't know what that means. And he said he had like 3 different girls accusing him of rape. I was like, well, he's probably guilty then, I would guess. I don't know. It's
ridiculous. It has nothing to do with race and everything to do with your opinion on Kobe Bryant or your opinion on Mike Tyson. I mean,
right.
Like, what is that?
That's why I said it cracked me up. I said, so it's more racist to say a black guy is guilty and a black guy is innocent than a black and a white guy are both guilty. That's like more racist. So.
I think people are just I don't even get it. I don't even argue with people because I'm like, what's the point?
People are fucking stupid because we have such an easy life. in United States of America because it's such a great country that people got to come up, create. They have to create their own misery.
They do. That's really true, man. That really is. That's really true.
Dude, honestly, when I was in Saudi Arabia and it's like 110 degrees, and women are walking around and they can't show their faces, and there's the religious police walking around making sure you don't misobey the Quran, as well as the real police. You're like, I couldn't wait to get the fuck out of that country. I'm like, get me out of here.
You're like, I can't wait to get back to the U.S. where they would never try to make us cover our faces for any reason. Like, I would never go against it, but dude. When I was in Bahrain, they told me, I think I probably told you this story, but they told me to take my shoe off of a table because I was offending someone stretching my leg. Like I was at a Holiday Inn trying to stretch my back, and I had the bottom of my shoe was some guy could see it, and he was real upset by it because I was offending him, or whatever. I showed him the bottom of my shoe, and so I got thrown out of the Holiday Inn because I said I wasn't taking it down. They were going to have to throw me out, and it turns out they did. So I was like, never mind. They made me leave. I was like, alrighty. Well.
Yeah, well, I mean, you don't want to fuck around. So this guy, we talked about the girl weighing in with her top off, and I said, well, what would happen if a guy just had like a thong or something? Well, that happened. Here's a picture.
Oh, God. I could have done without that. Wait, he's at least Asian, right?
Yeah, he's Asian.
Yeah, so he probably wasn't gaining that much of an advantage anyway by wearing a thong. So probably wasn't much weight hidden in there to begin with.
Nobody was better than Crazy Horse Charles Bennett. He would just get butt naked. Like
dude, that dude on Facebook is the funniest. He kills me, man. On Facebook, he'll post a video of a bunch of black teenagers like robbing a store, and he'll just put white people shake my head, like like is what he like says on there or whatever. Like it's people get irate with him, or he'll be like, damn Asians, like when it's Mexican people doing stuff, like he always blames another race that isn't, who's isn't what the race of the person doing it. People they fall for it every time, man. Like it's the funniest.
He really is like the old dirty bastard of fighting. I mean, he could have been one of the best. He could have been great if he actually would have because he had all the natural gifts.
Yeah, he could fight, man.
But what a character. I mean, he's the only guy that like I had to not allow back on the podcast because we had on and he was like, I want all people with AIDS to die or gay people to die. Like I was like, I just can't. I can't say, I'm not, certain things you could say. Well, he's just old fashioned, or he just, I could see how he looks at this way, or he was. I go, I can't defend. I want all gay people to die. There's nothing there. I can't have my name attached to that.
That's more than a little old fashioned. I think that's a little. That's got more than old customs. To do with old customs.
It wasn't even about it had nothing to do with gay people too. Like literally, it just starts blurting out, I want all gay people to die, and then he hits me up asking me if I can help him out in Hollywood, and I'm like, yo, give me some acting roles.
Yeah, let me try saying that to half the directors in Hollywood and see how that works out for you.
Yeah, I'm like, are you out of your mind? What the fuck is wrong with you? Anyway, Sean, what do you got coming up?
Same as always, man. Nothing. Just hitting a couple weddings here soon and getting ready to go to Germany, as long as they're not going to require me to show proof of vaccination or wear a mask. So we'll see what happens.
Don, you?
Well, hell, I was going to go over to the Kip Ranch in Lordsburg, New Mexico, and help them with the cattle roundup. But they called me today and said that they got too many people and they don't need me this time around to come in May. So now I got to come up with something to do this weekend.
Wait, you're gonna rattle cattle?
Yeah.
You say rattle cattle? You mean
you're gonna round up cattle? Wait, so there's cattle everywhere, and you're gonna go chase them?
Yeah, they got a big giant ranch in Lordsburg, New Mexico, and so you round them up and then brand them and all that good stuff.
So and by cattle, he means illegal aliens, just to clarify for everyone. He's going to go round them up and brand them.
So Don, you couldn't walk or work out in years. Every time I talk to you, you got someone like putting shots in you or carving out your leg or putting a fucking, tubes in you. But you're going to have your weekend running around chasing cows?
I can't now because they said they don't need me. and they got too many people.
That's the only thing that's stopping them is manpower.
But I mean, do you think this is the best thing you can do for your health right now? Is chase cows?
Why not? Hell, it beats the hell out sitting on my ass staring at the ceiling or TV,
Yeah.
don't it?
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. Well, listen, I
dream of being. I really do dream of one day being half as manly as Don.
I didn't even know that was even an option to go to a farm and round up cattle and brand them. I didn't know that was like people did that like that. I mean,
Yeah.
are you on some kind of list? How do you know about these things?
They're buddies of mine.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, they're buddies of mine.
I mean, you're like Cattleman. It's like like Batman, but they have like a brand, and then you get like the cow signal. Well, listen, Don, I'm going to be in Reno at the Laugh Factory in Reno this Thursday to Sunday. You guys are the best. Have a good week, guys. Love you guys.
See you guys, man.